Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Michael Wilkes, City Manager. I'm very, very happy to be here tonight to present to you our 2018-2019 general fund and other fund budgets and our 2018 through 2022 proposed capital improvement plan. If I could, before I get started, I'd like to just say a word of thanks to the folks that really helped put this together. First of all, Diana Wright, Matt Randall, and our budget staff. And then also I'd like to thank all of our department directors. This truly, as it has been for many years with us, truly a team effort. All of our department directors, we call our executive team, work hand in hand to put together our budget proposal. And so it is a team effort and a lot of work goes into it. So I'd just like to thank all the folks, and not only them, but all the folks in their staffs down through the department level that help put this together. It's a great deal of work and effort that goes into that. So my thanks to them for all the work that they've done. I want to start off by just talking a little bit about who we are and have been as an organization. I think one of the things that has really been the hallmark of our organization really is the foresight and the vision of the Olathe City Council, and the fact that each and every year you are focused on what your customers think, what their priorities are, and then you articulate a vision that addresses those issues. Though we have many times limited funds, we have a lot of competing interests, we have a lot of things that demand our attention, just like the thing that the issue that you saw just before us. By the way, I have a really cool model at the end of my presentation that's going to show a lot of people running around. No, I don't have that. So, but very much like the issue that you said, a lot of competing issues. But yet each and every year the council comes back and focuses on what it is your citizens are telling you. I've been here 18 and a half years now, put together I think 19 budgets, and one of the things that has always been a hallmark of this council is engaging the public in the process. What do the citizens think? So as a theme, if you will, for our budget this year, we decided to take a look through the lens of our citizens, the people that we serve, and what is it they see and what is it they think when they think about Olathe? What is Olathe to your constituents, to our citizens, to the people that we provide this service to? So we're going to frame the budget in that lens. I'm going to try to do it as fast as I can, but again, as I spoke last week, I reminded everybody my dad's a Southern Baptist preacher. I can talk about this computer for 2 hours.
No, you can't.
So I want to talk about and really frame this in terms of who is Olathe. Olathe is moving. You know, one of the top priorities of our community each and every year is mobility. How do we move traffic? How can we make our the most efficient means of having people go from one place to the next? It's exactly why you had the item that was right before us. We're also, Olathe is innovative. You know, we have won many awards, national awards for innovative practices. A couple one in the police department, one in the fire department, just to name a few. Our mobile integrated health program in the police department, our co-responder program, our mobile integrated health in the fire department, our co-responder in the police department. Finding ways to do the things that we do more efficiently and better without necessarily more people or more money. So we're also, Olathe is active. One of the things that is a trademark for any community is the quality of life, and one of the main points of quality of life is, do we have an ability for people to get out and move around? Can they be active? Are there trails for them to walk on? Are there playgrounds for them to go to? Are there things for them to participate, like Fourth Fridays or concerts in the park or things like that? Do we have the ability for people to be active? Then Olathe is community. You know, I think one of the things I hear most, and I know you guys hear it because I hear it from you, that people love about Olathe is, despite the fact that there are 136,000 people that live in Olathe, Kansas is not a city. It's a community. And people come here and they live here because we're a community. And because they don't get lost in the hustle and the bustle, and they have services that matter to them. And the people that provide those services, as I have said over and over, and as our secret sauce, provide that service like those people are family members, friends, and neighbors. Not problems and numbers. And that makes a difference. That's what makes community, not just a city. And then finally, probably one of the most important things that we do, Olathe is safe. The mayor's already talked about it tonight. One of the 10 safest cities in America. I remember when I interviewed for the job, and when I got the job, first things you guys said to me was, we did our retreat in Lawrence, and the first thing in our strategic plan was, we want to be the safest city in America. So 18 and a half years ago, we've done, or 18 and a half years later, because of your foresight, because of your vision, and because of your ability and willingness to do the things and fund the things that we've asked you to fund, we are one of the safest cities in the country. And this budget continues that line of thinking in that proposal. So, as I talked, and I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly, but we approach budgeting from a very systematic approach, very much like a business. And those of you that are in the business world have seen that, and actually that's why we do what we do, because you guys have had influence on why we do what we do and how we do it. So a lot of these things, biennial council strategic planning, every 2 years the city council goes back through a process to prioritize what's important, how do we spend our money in the next 2 years, and how do we spend our money in the long term. Organizational scorecards that deal with 4 things like finances, customer, organization, employees. How are we making sure that those things are maximized for the effectiveness of the organization? 5-year departmental business plans, 5-year, in many places we have 10-year capital improvement programs, because so many of the things that we do are so long term. We have 5 and 10-year forecasts. Performance measures. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. And that's why we do the things that we do. Quarterly direction finder, I tell you, when we went to quarterly about 3 years ago, it really has changed significantly how we do business, because before we got results, we made a change, we had to wait 12 months to find out if the change that we had made worked. Now we make a change, 3 months later we know if it works, and if it didn't work, we can change again. So, and then finally, this is our second iteration of our 2-year budget. You guys, again, had the foresight and were willingness to let us experiment 2 years ago with a 2-year budget. Our opinion is it worked very, very well for us. Our staff used a significantly less amount of time on budget, especially the second year. And more importantly, or equally importantly, we got to take the time to use some very smart people who are budget analysts and other analysts, performance analysts in our organization, and put them towards tasks, projects that both the council and the staff prioritized, and we got those things done and made a difference in those areas as well. So without this 2-year budget process, we wouldn't be able to do those kind of things. Finally, how does that pay off? Well, one of the ways it pays off, you guys will remember we made this little video, and our fire chief, Dr. DeGraffenried, became a council member that day because I think we were short. But if you remember, we had the privilege of becoming one of 79 What Works cities that are funded by the Bloomberg Foundation. Now, again, 79 cities. What is it, Susan? 5,500, 6,000 cities in the country. 79 of them have been chosen by the Bloomberg Foundation to get the opportunity to work with some of the most innovative firms to come in and help you do some things. And we were one of those cities, and blessed by that opportunity. Again, showing that the things that we're doing, the systematic approach, the what is Olathe and how we view our priorities is paying off by the recognition of others and what we're doing. So, Just real briefly on the two-year budget process, because you guys know it, but this is the second time we're going to go partake in that process. First of all, the city manager presents a two-year budget. That budget for the first year is formally adopted. That'll be adopted on by the 25th of August. That's when we have to have that done. And then second year is conditionally approved. You guys go through that whole process this year, looking at what we're asking for in the second year, and you conditionally approve that. Then the second year, if there are any changes, last year when we did our second year budget, we had no revenue changes, no expenditure changes in the budget. You guys had the ability to just approve that with no changes. Our staff did a tremendous job forecasting a year ahead of themselves and what we would do. We believe that we've done that again this year. So, and then the second year budget is then formally approved in August of next year. Some of our economic indicators, these aren't foreign to you. You see these every year, and I'm not going to go over each one of them, but consumer confidence is at a pretty good rate right now in Johnson County. People feel very good. Our employment rate, one of the lowest, well, actually it is the lowest in the state, one of the lowest places it's been in many, many years, certainly at full employment at 3.2. And then building permits are looking up very positively for 2016, and we believe 2017 as well. These are our three major revenues. Same three revenues, major revenues that we've had for the last 18 and a half years that I've been here. Obviously sales tax, and you'll see it in a minute, 50 to 51% of our budget. This is just a forecast of where we think it's going to go over the next few years. Property tax, which accounts for about 20% of our budget, where we think that's going to be. And the spike in that, or not spike, but the upward trend in that between 16 and 17 is one of the things you'll remember we did last year in the two-year budget was roll two mills from the general, or from the debt service fund into the general fund. So that's what's reflected there. And then finally, franchise fees. And as you might remember, franchise fees are getting a little bit flatter because it's really not a whole lot of adding to the pot in terms of franchises anymore. Most people have all the things that they're needing in terms of electricity, gas, telephones, cable, all that stuff. They may shift around to different users, but they're basically not a whole lot more users coming into the pot. So those have been fairly flat over the last few years. In terms of our operating budget, we had an operating budget in 2017 of right at $99.8 million. We're going to propose a 2018 budget of 102.5, and then a 19 budget of 107.4. Those are 2.7% increase between 17 and 18, and a 4.8% increase between 18 and 19. Again, you've seen this slide, and it hasn't changed really appreciably in years. 50% of our revenues come from sales tax, 20% from property tax, 12% from franchise fees, and the rest of it makes up charges for services, others, and transfers. So it's about the same that it's been. Same thing goes for our expenditures. When you kind of roll those up, about in the general fund, 62% of what we do really goes to people, and that's why, if you remember, not to bring up difficult things, but when we went through the recession, that was really where we had to attack the budget, was in the people, because that's where the bulk of our dollars are in the general fund, still is. So that brings us to the highlights of what we're proposing in our general fund budget. And again, I want to do this in the terms of the eyes of our people and what Olathe is. So let's start off with Olathe is safe. So what are we doing to continue to address the issue of safety? Well, in 2018, our police chief was began to see, not in 2018, but he has begun to see things in terms of, we do, as you guys know, as Councilmember Randall says, and the rest of the council says, we are very much you're a data-driven council. We're a data-driven organization. We do a lot of analytics. And so one of the things that our police department is involved in is peer cities. And so he began, which is I think 33 or 35 cities, very much peer in terms of size and where they are in the country. And we we rate ourselves and benchmarks ourselves against those other cities. And so the chief has been concerned about what he's seeing in terms of our clearance rate for some of our Part 1 crimes. So we believe we need to address that. Olathe is safe. We want to continue for it to be safe. And so one of the things we haven't done in several years is address the need in detectives. So we're going to address that need in a major way in 2018 and 2019 with 3 detectives in 18, and then 3 more detectives positions, 2 regular police detectives and 1 sergeant in the detective division in 2019. So really, again, to address and attack that issue of clearance rates. Also, we have a partnership. We had the opportunity today, the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and I, to meet with some representatives of the school district and to meet with the new superintendent. And one of the things the mayor said was, we have a very, very proud and a very, very robust partnership with our school district. It's very, very important to us, and we wanted you wanted him to know that, and that's important to our community. And so one of the things that we're addressing here is we've got schools coming online. We've got a new high school coming on in next year in 2018, and we got a new middle school coming on in 19. And one of the partnerships that we've had is our SRO program. So we've got 2 police officers, 1 sergeant, and 1 police officer in 18, 1 sergeant in 19, that we've proposed again to get at this issue of Olathe is safe, and we want to continue to be safe by addressing these needs. Olathe is also innovative. I talked about some of the things that we're doing. Well, one of the things that we're doing that's running a little bit upstream from some of the things that other people are doing is trying to address the trends in the fire services. Right now, 70% of our calls in the fire service are emergency medical calls. Okay, doesn't require, even though we have paramedics on every one of those trucks to help address those needs, it doesn't necessarily require a $1 million fire truck and 3 or 4 firefighters responding to some of these things that we respond to. So we're trying to get more nimble, more cost effective in how we provide that service. And we started it with the Mobile Integrated Health Program, which was an award-winning program for us. We added a squad this year. We're following that up with a new squad request in 2018 and a new squad request in 2019. And we believe right now that we will continue to ask for those into the future as we try to build a robust squad system to address some of these issues with that 70% number. Another thing that we're doing, which is very innovative, and I'd just like to hats off to our chief, really, who's carried the ball on this thing. Chief DeGraffenreid, as you guys know, we have the 21st Century Academies with the school district, and one of the things that the chief, both chiefs, have been working on is starting a new academy at Olathe West, which will be the Public Safety Academy. And this really is a tremendous opportunity, particularly in our fire services, and the Chief DeGraffenreid is really taking this to the next level in terms of the partnership with the school district. And so we're going to do basically the same thing we do with the police department. The school district's going to fund half of a firefighter, a fire resource coordinator, we're calling it, to work with the students as they teach class, as they talk about and present this whole fire service academy. Because, you know, I tell you, one of the things that we have found both in the fire service and the police service is really the most fertile ground for us in terms of recruiting people is in high school, right? Find them when they're in high school, where they're searching for what they want to do. Help them understand a pathway to get to a career that they want, like a firefighter or a police officer. And what is it, A, I need to do to get there? And secondly, and equally important, is what is it I need not to do to make sure I can get there, right? And so we believe that this Public Safety Academy is going to be very, very, very critical to our future in terms of really, in terms of being able to hire people and grow our own, if you will, so to speak, in Olathe School District. So very important to us. Olathe is active, as I said before, and we want to keep up with that. You guys have a tremendous vision for what can be accomplished at Lake Olathe and Cedar Lake. That was really, I think you guys referred to it as the crown jewel of our current iteration of our park sales tax. And we're right now going through the process of designing the improvements. We had a presentation about a month ago, designing those improvements and getting that budget, I would say, concretized so that we can go forward with that project. But very much something that's critically important to us as we go forward in this idea of Olathe is active. I mean, one of the things, and again, Michael Metter's really working really hard with Johnson County Parks and Recreation on collaboration and trying to create, when we're finished with this, a trail system on the west side of Olathe that'll be 10 miles long from start to finish. Something that we really don't have on the west side and need dramatically as the number of houses on the west side continue to grow. We need these amenities. So one of the things that comes with that, though, if we're going to spend $16, $17, $18 million at Lake Olathe, we have to make sure we maintain it and take care of it. Because one of the things that you guys, we heard loud and clear from the council when we saw those slides of Lake Olathe not too long, a month ago, was you want manicured, right? So we're turning a park that right now may get bush hogged 3 times a summer into some place that's fixing to have to get taken care of every week, right? So we are addressing that with some people. First of all, we're adding a horticulturist who helps us take care of all the plant life in 2018, and then in 2019 there'll be 2 park maintenance people in the general fund that'll also help us with Lake Olathe. Now the other thing that we're adding, in 2018, there was some new legislation passed this year, and we are very much supportive of it to make sure our playgrounds, our slides, all those kind of things are safe for kids. We want that, and so we are going to add a safety maintenance technician. We've got a lot of slides, you know, all through the city, and we got a lot of playground equipment that we need to make sure is safe, because again, not only do we want people to be active, we want them to be safe when they're active. Olathe is community. We talked about that a few minutes ago, and some of the things that we've proposed, not as big and splashy as some of these other things, but we believe very, very important. This issue of healthy neighborhoods we've been talking about for several years. It is imperative to us. It is imperative to our community. It's imperative to the long term of our community that we take care of neighborhoods and that we not let neighborhoods deteriorate. And then property values go down, crime goes up. That's what happens, right? So what we've done is put some money in 18 and put some money in 19 to do some initiatives. It's not everything that we'd like for it to be, but it's a start, and we want to build on this as we go forward on this issue. Secondly, we're adding another housing authority coordinator, financial coordinator. This is a grant-funded position, almost, I think, 90% grant-funded. 10% general fund, so we get money from the federal government to help us with our housing authority and manage that authority from the financial standpoint. And then finally, in the budget for the general fund, Olathe is moving, and again, we want to continue. Most of what you're going to see in the moving area is in the CIP. A lot of funds in the CIP on that, but we do have a couple of things. Signal timing, very important. Being able to make sure we have optimize our signal timing. So we're going to do a study in 2018 that we believe will help us optimize our system and optimize the computer system that we have that helps us with our signal timing. And then we are adding another project inspector. This really just goes to the amount of projects that we do. We capitalize these people. As you know, we've talked about it for years. When we need people, we add them. When we don't need project inspectors, we don't. We take them off. So right now we've got a lot of projects that we're adding, and we are going to have to add another project inspector. As I said a few minutes ago, our budget matches the priorities of this community. Okay, we've done Direction Finder, and for the last 18 years we've done Direction Finder results. We know that public safety and transportation are sometimes co-number ones, and at least competing back and forth between number one and number two. So where do we put our money? Well, we put our money where the priorities of this community are, where the priorities of your constituents and your citizens are. 69% of the funding that's going into the general fund and the money that we're going to spend in this budget in 2018 and 2019 goes directly to supporting transportation and transportation and public safety issues. Everything else we do split to 31%. You've seen this slide a lot. I'm not going to really touch on it too much. The bottom line is we are very, I tell you, I put our staff up against any staff in America. Our people are outstanding at what they do, and they're outstanding at the output that they can get in the production that they get and the quality that they get. That's why, you know, last year of 900 jurisdictions that do Direction Finder survey, we were #1 in the country in terms of the quality of the service that we provide and the ability to provide service to our customers. #1 in all those 900 jurisdictions. This tells you that we do that with fewer people than most people do. And that while our population continues to grow, our employees per thousand is not continuing to grow. So this is something we talk about every year. This is really, I think this is important for two reasons. This slide, and you guys know this, you've been here for a long time, we do put some cash out of the general fund into the CIP, all right? And so the reason this slide's important is, #1, promises made, promises kept, and I'll get to that in a second. And #2 is, you got to take care of what you got. Right? And those are priorities that you guys have had for your staff for several years, and that's really what this is. In 2017, our funding for public building maintenance, that's all the buildings we own, which if Bob Reynolds were here, he could tell me, but I think it's 46 or something like that, different facilities and things like that that we have. We spent $350,000 in 2017. We budgeted $450 in 18 and $550 in 19. Really trying to make an effort to get that number up to where we can take care of the maintenance of our buildings and our stewardship of the things that we own for the people. And it's the same thing for park facility maintenance. I think that number was $275 in 2017. It's $325 in 18 and $350 in 2019. Now the other one is the promises made, promises kept. If you remember, one of the things that the council wanted the staff to make sure that we delivered on when we did the park maintenance or we did the street maintenance sales tax several years ago was to increase our cash commitment to street rehabilitation every year. And we have done that, $200,000 at a clip every year. So last year we were at, or this year, I say last year, but I'm a year behind and ahead. But in 2017 we're at 2.4 million. And 2018 we're going to be at 2.6. 2019 we're going to be at 2.8. 2020 we'll be at 3 million. You know, that's our commitment to the community that supported our park maintenance sales tax. That's just additional cash going into street rehab. Which takes us to the park street maintenance sales tax fund. This is a budget that $12,500,000 in 18, 13 million in 19, and this is based on sales tax. What we anticipate sales tax collections to be. The reason 2017 is a little higher is because we had some carryover from 2017 that didn't get spent, so we just roll that over, and we'll do the same thing for 18 and 19. What do we think we're going to get done? If you look at 18 and 19, and these are estimates. It all depends, as you guys well know, it depends on, you know, the price of oil, what's going on in terms of the projects that we have, if we get good bids, those kind of things. But just as a target, we would see doing 35 lane miles of local and collector mill and overlay, 24 and 25 arterial mill and overlays, 24 surface treatments, 250 lane miles of crack sealing, and 250 lane miles of curb replacement, linear feet. So, and as you see from 2016 completed and 2017 projections, those will change, again, depending on bids we get. That brings us to the water and sewer fund. Water and sewer is going from 47,800,000, almost 900,000, to 46,000,000 4 in 18, and then 47.2 million in 19. We're proposing a 4% increase in water rates and a 5.2% increase. Whoops, how did I do that? There we go. 5.2% increase in sewer rates in both of those years. That equates to about $1.50 for each, $1.50 in water and $1.50 in water for 18 and $1.50 in water for 19, and then about $2.05 or so for 18, and the same for 19 in sewer. This slide, next slide, you're very used to seeing. We explain every year. This is just kind of our positioning for water rates. And if you remember, this is our 18 proposed to everybody else's current 17 rates, because nobody likes to tell what they're going to do until they do it, and their governing body approves it. So we'll probably move left on this slide, on all these slides a little bit. Sewer, same thing. Except we're on the kind of the right end of this slide, but again, we'll move left as things get firmed up. Now, if you remember, one of the things I said in the general fund is the majority of the money that we spend in the general fund, 62% is going towards people. Well, it's not that way in the water and sewer funds. So this kind of breaks out how we spend our money. 30% of the projects that we do relate to capacity issues, adding capacity to the program. 70% of what we do, it really is taking care of the things that we're doing, and you really see that in our CIP. 70% also of the money that we spent is spent in the water and sewer fund is spent on capital. Only 30% spent on people and services and things like that. So it's almost the exact opposite of the general fund and how we see our expenditures are in the general fund. So in terms of what we're proposing in the water and sewer, we really only have one proposal, and it goes to safety. We're proposing to add a lab tech. As you guys know, we're in the process of completing, I think it should be complete yet this year, our new lab out at Cedar Creek. And so this adds a person on staff out there. All the things that we do in terms of testing water, testing sewage effluent, that goes back into the rivers. And so all those things really takes the people to do that. And we want to make sure we keep up with that so that we're able to provide both the safest drinking water going into people's house that we can, and also the highest level of quality water going back into our creeks that we can as well. Next fund we talk about is our solid waste fund. Here again, we're proposing a 1.5% rate increase in, I keep hitting that with my, a 1.5% rate increase, which is about 30 cents in 2018 and 30 cents in 2019, roughly. As you guys know, one of our highest rated services that we do in Olathe, Kansas is year after year after year is our trash service. I got a telephone message forwarded to me today from a guy that was just raving being good, about the guy that picked up his trash, and he had done a bulk pickup, and the guy came out there, picked it all up, cleaned up his driveway, and so our guys are just doing phenomenal jobs out there in terms of what they're doing. Our solid waste rate, very, very competitive with other jurisdictions. As you know, we're one of the few jurisdictions that are actually in the trash business. A lot of them have contracted trash, but we're very, very competitive in our rates. And again, this is our 18 rates compared to their 17 rates, so we'll be to the left of this number as well. Stormwater, we're also proposing a 2% increase for stormwater, which is about 11 cents, 10 or 11 cents in both of those years per resident, per business. We have no proposed additions in stormwater, but we have a good bit of capital projects, and I'll talk about those in a few minutes. This is our comparison, our rates, again, right in the middle, and we'll go left as everybody else finalizes their rates. Recreation fund, these are just the proposed budgets going from 5.3 to 5.3 and then 5.6. You'll see all of the rates associated with everything we're doing in the budget, but as you guys know, we have a lot of rates associated with Parks and Rec, and you'll see all that. You guys approved that in your rate ordinance, and we'll go over all that in much more detail as all this will go in much more detail, but we'll go over those in much more detail when we do the study session with you. We are proposing a couple of things in parks, one having to do with Lake Olathe, and this again has to do with Olathe is active, so got to keep up with the things that we're doing. One of the things is we're proposing a new program, and you guys know this, but speaking to the public more, our recreation fund is totally fee supported, so it lives on the funds that are generated from the people that do the activities in the recreation fund. People that go to our community center, people that play ball, people that go to our camps, Camp Rolling Along, all those kind of things are directly supporting the Park and Rec fund. So we're going to start another before and after school care program, and we'll add a specialist, fee supported, and we'll do that in 2018. We're proposing that, and then in 2019 one more, which will make 4 people out at Lake Olathe for all the improvements that we'll do in by 2019. Library. So this is the first year that we have fully integrated the library into our budget. Last time we did our 2-year budget, we weren't quite there yet, so this is the first time you've seen them. We're really, really excited about that. It's just been a privilege to be able to work with Emily Baker and get to know her and integrate her into our organization, and she's on our executive team and very much a fully functioning person and member of that team, and so we've been really pleased to have her on board. So we're proposing a 4.7, going from 4.7 to 5.4 million, and then 5.6 in 19. We do have some things that we're proposing in the library, and this falls under the heading of Olathe is Innovative, because some of the things that you're going to see, as you guys know, and you'll see this in the CIP, working on 2 new libraries, one in the downtown, one out at Indian Creek and the old Hy-Vee building, and we're going to do some innovative things out there. And so one of the things that we're proposing is a new teen library assistant in the downtown facility, and then 2 things that are very much new to us: a makerspace coordinator. We're going to have a lot of makerspace out there at Indian Creek, and a meeting space. We'll have a meeting space out at Indian Creek that'll hold about 250 people. So we need somebody to make sure all those spaces, and we'll have boardrooms, we'll have meeting rooms, a lot of different things, and somebody to make sure that we're coordinating all that, scheduling people, and all the things that have to be done with that. So we're very, very excited about the things that are going to be happening in libraries in Olathe over the next couple of years. Finally, that brings us to our proposed capital improvement plan, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly and try to save some time. First of all, our total CIP is going from 300. This is all the funding. So this is not just our debt service funding. This is if we get money from Johnson County on SMAC, if we get federal funds, if we get all that stuff, so everything's included. And so we're going from 314 to $430 million in this 5-year CIP. This is all the current funds. I'm not going to go over all these. These are all the things that are currently in our CIP, our debt service fund right now. Just continuing to carry those things out. This slide is the newly proposed projects that are on in the CIP, and I'll call out a couple of these. Some of these 151st Street improvements, that's the stuff that is associated with the Garmin improvements. Some of their money in there, some of our money in there. We've got the city facilities expansion down at Robinson. We've got the downtown library and the Indian Creek library on there. Lone Elm Road from Old 56 Highway to 151st, a very badly needed piece of infrastructure to four-lane that, finish that four-lane section out. And then finally, Woodland Road, K10 to College Boulevard, really probably one of the most crowded two-lane sections of road that we have in the city right now. And so that four-lane in that facility and getting that done in the next few years is important to us in terms of continuing. Again, if you remember what I said, most of the Olathe is moving stuff is right here. And so that's what's important there. Our park sales tax, cash projects, this really hasn't changed a lot since last time because, again, as you guys know, the big project in the park sales tax is Lake Olathe, and that's the one we're working on right now. These other projects are coming over the next few years, and then we paid for out of cash out of the sales tax fund. Water and sewer, we really only have 5 new projects in water and sewer, and those are all at the top of the page. Most of this stuff, as I said, about 30% is capacity related. That would be, let's see if I can find one on here. Well, I can't. But 30% of them are capacity related, 70% of them are more maintenance, taking care of the things that we have, like the alternative disinfectant, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Solid waste fund, really only 2 projects in the solid waste fund, both going to be cash funded, and we've talked about these for the last several years. One is to continue to expand our compost site. We are really getting to where we're maxed out at our compost facility. We just don't have enough land area to do the things that we need to do, so we're going to have to expand that a little bit. And then secondarily, and we've talked about this, now that the transfer station is ours, we're going to have to redo the floor of the transfer station, and when we redo the floor, we're going to expand it a little bit, because again, that gives us some additional capacity that we'll need for the future. Oops, backwards. Stormwater fund. These are just, as you guys know, these are projects that we do both from a, you can't really call it a capacity issue. All of this stuff has to do with maintenance, but the 2 different distinguishing elements of maintenance. One, let's say, one element of maintenance, we got a place that's deteriorating or flooding, a creek area, and we got to fix that. One of the other things you'll see us doing more and more of in the next few years is rehabilitating stuff that's in the ground, stormwater pipe, things like that have been in the ground for 20, 30 years that we will start having some issues with, and we'll have to start replacing. So that's one of the things that we're really shooting for in the stormwater fund, is to be able to begin to take care of some of the stuff that we already have in the ground. So that really is that's a 20,000, 50,000 maybe foot look at our budget. You guys know we're going to be talking about this in much more detail as we start our study session process. But just to reiterate, you know, again, trying to look at the budget through the lens of your constituents and our customers, and what is it that matters to them. It matters that Olathe is a place that's moving, that Olathe is a place that's innovative, that Olathe is a place that's active, that Olathe is community, and Olathe is safe. Those are things that mean a lot. We know that. They mean a lot to the people that live in this community, and we want to honor that, continue to honor that, by putting the money and the resources, the limited resources that we have, into the things that matter to the people that live here. Okay? And then that really brings us to the calendar. We'll be having our first workshop, which will deal with the general fund, parks, and library on the 11th. That'll be at the community center. And then on the 18th, we're back in here. We don't have a meeting on the 4th, just for everybody, remind you of that. No meeting on the 4th. So then on the 18th, we're back in here. And at the end of the meeting, just like this, at a study session, we'll be talking about the recreation funds and the solid waste fund. Back on the 25th, we'll be out at the community center again, starting early, and talking about the water and sewer fund, CIP for them, and the stormwater fund and their CIP. Have our budget public hearing, which is will be advertised and meets all of our state statutory requirements on August the 1st, and then hopefully tentative approval of the first year budget and preliminary approval of the second year budget on August the 15th. So I'd like to stand for questions if you have any.
Good job, Michael. It's a lot of information to cover. Questions for the city manager? Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Michael, I don't know if you can do it, but can you go back to the water and sewer rate slide? I think it was a 4%.
Yes, sir. Well, hold on, let me get over here. Well, no, I'll find it over here. If you see it, Susan, holler. We're getting there. Here it is. Okay.
I apologize for not asking this when we had our one-on-one briefings.
Yep.
Prior to tonight. Michael, our existing rate gets us, if I'm understanding, and I must not be understanding something right, but our existing rates generate 896 million, and we're spending less in 18 and 19. Why would we have to have an increase?
Right, so, and we'll talk about this in detail. We did talk about it a little bit in the one-on-ones, but we'll talk about it a lot more detail. We are shifting how we're funding SDF, how we're utilizing SDF, our SDF funds. So that $47.8 million utilizes SDF in operating funds. We're going to propose that we shift FDS to capital.
Thank you. Got it. Thanks.
All right, any others? Thank you, Michael. We'll look forward to digging deeper next month.
Okay, thanks, sir.